Something new in Chapter 5 is the use of a return statement to return from a method completely if you encounter an error condition. So that's what we're going to do right now. There's two places where there might be an error. There might be the error that I just did on the console here, where I typed in a 0, so it couldn't count down. And so it gave me an error message, but I'm not sure, I haven't done anything else yet. So I'm going to start there. So here I'm halfway there. I've discovered that the user's number is less than 1, so I know I won't be able to count down. But what I don't want to do is to get out of this if and to get down into here, right? So there's two ways I could do this. Using what we already know about if and else, if I wanted to make sure that nothing else, that all of this stuff only happened if the user number is correct, I could put all the rest of the code in the whole program in an else, and I would just have to make sure that I didn't put anything else here. This is okay to do if you have just a tiny bit of code left in your method, but if I had potentially quite a few things left to do, then it would get a little bit unwieldy to have to bracket them all inside an else. So I'm going to show you an alternative. Get my indent back. In many cases, putting them in an else is just fine, but here's another way. Instead, I can use return. It's kind of, after a while, you'll start to develop a feel for when you should use an else and when you should just return. But in general, your general rule of thumb is, if there's potentially a lot of stuff that might be happening down here, just return. It'll be easier than trying to make sure it all ends up in the else. And I'll just put a comment here that says, exit out of the main method. So return doesn't end the program. It just takes you directly from this line down to the curly bracket of the main. In this case, because main is the main method of the program, it has the effect of stopping the program just because we're returning from main. So this is a little bit of a special case. If I have return in any other method, it just takes me to the bottom bracket of the method and returns from that method. Okay, so let's use this same logic to help us out up here, where we check to make sure the user did type a number on the console. Here I'm going to need an if statement, so I'm going to start out with that, just the skeleton of the if statement. And I know that in this case, I also am going to print an error message. So this will be if the user did not type a number on the console, I might type an error message. Error, you must type a number. Okay, now, and then I will probably want to return, so that part I know. From down here, same kind of thing, error message and return. What is the check? Well, it turns out that the scanner, we have the scanner object up here. The scanner has a method that lets you check exactly this. So I can say scan.hasNextInt. Scan.hasNextInt will give you back a true if there is an integer sitting there waiting to be read. It will return false if there is not an integer. Like, for example, the user types a string on the console. Okay. So in this case, what I'm interested in is I'm interested in knowing when scan.hasNextInt is false. If scan.hasNextInt is false, it means there is not an int there. It's peeked at the console and it sees that there's not an int. So I'm interested in this case. If scan.hasNextInt equals false, send out an error message and return. Let's see what this looks like on the console. Okay, so if I type error, you must type a number. This is the behavior that I want. Excellent. It didn't go ahead and read. If I didn't have this return statement here, let's just have a look at that. Then I'm not returning. Then I'm not returning from main. I would just continue down here and try to read it as an int. So this would be trouble. If I don't have that return statement, then this is the behavior. Exception, input mismatch. Okay, so this is what we're trying to prevent. So again, the return statement doesn't exit the program. It just takes me directly down to the curly bracket that is the end of the main method. In this case, that would have the the behavior of stopping the program because the main method is the special method of your program that starts your program. A couple different ways you can write this. This is fine. Scan.hasNextInt equal to false. Fine way to test to see if it's equal to false. You can also do a little bit of fanciness with the logical operator, and this is a nice segue into logical operators. So hasNextInt gives back a false statement. I only get to go in here if this whole thing evaluates to true. So if you check this and this is false and this is equal false, that is a true statement. The same thing as saying in English, what I'm interested in knowing is if the scanner does not have the next int. It's just that in Java we have to put the not in a different place. So I would put the not here instead. Exclamation point in Java means not. So what this does is whatever this part is, if it's true, it flips it to false. And if that happens to be false, the exclamation point will flip it to true. So this is like saying if the scanner does not have an int on the console. Scan.hasNextInt equals false. The not sign makes it true, therefore it passes the if, and then we get to go in here. Okay. In the next video, we're going to take a closer look at logical operators, and then we'll hit recursion after that.